What's up, bosses? Welcome to About Her Business, the podcast where we leave all the gossip at the door and get straight down to business. I'm your host, Jante, and today we have the CEO of Breezy Fit Coach Brianna Thornton. Now, Coach Breezy's work centers around helping achievers build sustainable fitness routine that don't feel like another task on their business schedules. And she's here today to help us balance the scales on what she means business. So, ladies, grab those cups and those notepads, and let's get down to it. The meeting is now a session. Welcome, coach.
Thank you. What an intro. That was nice. I know. Happy to be here.
Yes, ma'am. Welcome. Are you ready to get into it?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Perfect. So you often talk about breaking the grind, crash, and restarting. Can you explain what that actually look like for high achieving women?
Yeah. So, a lot of times, especially as high achieving women, we tend to just feel like we have to do it all. And my business and what my morals are just to teach people that you don't necessarily need to do it all. And I'm still working on that myself. So it's a work in progress. When I say not getting stuck in the same routine, not feeling like you're going through the motions anymore, maybe we need to switch things up. Maybe we need to figure out something that's actually pouring back into us rather than just continuing to do the same thing over and over again that's not really getting any results.
Being a woman, I totally identify with that. We do tend to put a lot on ourselves just because we think that we just have to keep going. So let's talk about that for a minute, especially because a lot of women nowadays are talking about that word burnout. Why do you think so many ambitious women normalize burnout as a prize of success?
I think we've just been taught that hard work is a badge of honor and we don't necessarily see it as burnout until it's too late. So we don't recognize the patterns. We're just doing what we're taught to do, doing what we think is going to get us success and get us to the next level. And burnout happens when you least expect it, when we feel like we're doing the things and we're on a grind and everything is going right. But internally, you're not sleeping at night, you're not eating, you don't have any appetite, you're tired throughout the day, too much, and we don't realize, we don't see those patterns until it's too late. So we just need to start being able to recognize those patterns and what that looks like and really start to pour back into ourselves. And it's hard to not see it as a badge of honor, honestly, because it's just we're accustomed to it. We saw a lot of us saw our mothers working super hard and we want to be like that. We want to emulate that. We want to respect that mental barrier that has to be broken down, a mental pattern that has to shift to not see that burnout or see that hard working all the time as such a badge of honor. Again, same here. I'm still working on that myself, but just raising that level of awareness to be able to understand that this isn't a healthy pattern, that's just the first step.
Absolutely. And I identify with that because as a person who was working a very stressful job, I did actually burn out. I was not eating. I still remember just having a cup of coffee the entire day and nearly remember walking into my office the next day and thinking back, hey, you didn't even eat yesterday. So I definitely understand just putting that stress on yourself to keep going and identifying with burnout. Now, I want to ask you, when did you personally realize that hustle without health was unsustainable? And was there a specific finding moment in your life?
For me, my journey with that is a little bit different just because health has always been a part of just who I am and what I do. I grew up playing sports, grew up in the athletic field, regardless of whether it was training or being an athlete or coaching. So I was kind of the opposite. I was more so, I was putting my health or wasn't even thinking about it as putting my health first. I just enjoyed fitness and moving a lot to the point where everything else was quote unquote a distraction or everything else would take the back burner. I kind of had to reverse engineer it. I had to learn how to put my business first and to put other people first rather than just constantly going to the gym and doing all these things and trying out all these things. So I won't say that there was necessarily a defining moment for me. I've definitely seen transformations in their mindset and the way that they approach it because they are that type that's gonna burn out and stay up working late and wake up early and take care of the kids and they're doing everything constantly and they're not prioritizing themselves. So I think for as an example of somebody that would relate is there's one of my first clients ever. I was working at the YMCA in Statesboro and she was a stay-at-home mom. She was constantly caring for her boys. She had I think it was 3 boys and she's constantly caring for them. She's taking care of her husband. She's doing everything at home, but she's lost inside. Like, she doesn't understand her purpose. She's just going through the motions. She was starting her own business at the same time too, but at the end of the day, she just wasn't fulfilled. So she started working out. She started prioritizing her health, where there was 1 day a week, 2 days a week. And in the next 6 months, she's lost 20 pounds. She's leading classes. She's the leader of all of these things, and she found her purpose. She not only lost the weight, but she built the confidence that she needed to be able to really feel like she was worth it. Like, she deserved something better than what she was already going through, because everything she did was based around somebody else. So I think that was more of a turning point. That would probably be a better example.
Thanks for sharing that because I agree as a person has, in recent years started to put my health and fitness journey as a part of my life and not just as a daily task. I have seen the mindset shifts for myself as well. As you say, you build confidence and you find your purpose. And a lot of things happen just from building a great fitness routine. So you did mention mindset shifts. So let's talk about freedom rather than obligation when it comes to fitness. Can you explain what that shift in mindset looks like for us?
Yeah. So a lot of times when people are on their journey, I hear a lot of I'm doing it for something else, for somebody else when you're starting your fitness journey. So instead of it being something that you enjoy doing or something that you actually want to do, you're doing it because your husband told you need to lose weight. You're doing it because you got a trip coming up. You're doing it because your doctor said that you need to be on medication, something like that. There's some type of external turning point that you have, but that's why it's an obligation. And if it's something that you feel obligated to do, not necessarily that feels like a part of just what you enjoy doing, then you're not gonna stick with it. The best form of exercise or the best form of training is gonna be something that you enjoy. So finding that point of just, "This is me. This is what I enjoy doing. I enjoy lifting weights. I enjoy taking Pilates. I enjoy doing this." You found that because you wanted to do it, not because somebody else told you to do it, and it fits seamlessly into your life. And I'm currently rebuilding my own program around my health and fitness. And it's just a matter of what flows, what feels good, not just what feels mandatory, because that's when it becomes something that you just resent. And you can be consistent and resent it for the next 6 months. You're not going to see the results because it's not something that you're actually allowing yourself to fully submerge into and to develop into a new person. You're
Absolutely.
just doing it because somebody told you had to.
Once again, I identify with that because when I originally started my fitness routine, I literally started it because I couldn't run around with my daughter. So I lost the weight because of my daughter. And after I dropped it off, it was like one of those things of, well, okay, what are you going to do now? And I made the decision to say, hey, I actually feel good in the body that I am in now. So I started keeping up on my walks and making sure I was keeping up on eating healthy and things like that. So you hit on several key points there, especially when it comes to not thinking of fitness as being an obligation and just more of a way of life. So I want to ask you, what changes when a woman starts viewing fitness as an operational support instead of a punishment or an anesthetic goal like how we see on social media?
A lot changes, honestly. Sometimes it does take that external force. Sometimes it does take you not being able to keep up with your kids anymore. It takes your husband making a comment about something. It may take an external force to just make you have to make that change. And that's fine. But it does have to develop into, okay, why am I doing this? Am I doing this for me? What do I want out of this? So I just want to make that point there, that that can be the start. So don't let that be the reason why you're saying, "Oh, well, because this is the only reason I'm not gonna start." Like, no, that can still be a driving force to get you where you wanna be. But to answer your question about what changes, honestly, a lot changes, because you're going to start holding your head a little bit higher when you walk into certain rooms. You're going to start wearing clothes a little bit differently than you would if you weren't as confident in your body. And that doesn't mean that you necessarily just hit all of your goals and everything is perfect and you got the perfect dream body and that doesn't mean that. But because you're prioritizing yourself and you're actually taking care of your health and pouring back into yourself in the right way, now you're just more confident. You feel better. Your productivity is increased. You're demanding certain things that you wouldn't have necessarily fought for in the beginning because you just didn't have that self-esteem. So when it comes to just how it changes you, it's more than just your body. It's more than just fitness. Again, it's that mindset shift to where now you understand and you respect yourself a little bit more and you're able to have different conversations because it started with you actually taking the time to prioritize yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And once again, thanks for clearing it up for our viewers on that previous question because as you said, it's one of those things of when it comes to fitness, you really do just have to find your reason why you're doing it. Because if you do not, it is gonna just feel like a everyday chore that you're doing, and you're gonna eventually get tired of it and stop. And as a person who had to figure out those ways to keep going, it was one of those things of where I did take a week off. And after that week of taking off, my body started to react to that. So it was one of those things of where you just really have to get to know yourself. Now, I want to talk about for our entrepreneurs out there for a second who are juggling, say, business, family, or leadership. What are some of the first red flags that our bodies are under strain?
A few could be you're not sleeping at night, you have low energy, you're tired throughout the day, you don't have much of an appetite, stiff muscle, so your body starts to lock up and hold stress in certain areas, and that's gonna be different for everybody. Some people it shows up as back pain, some people shows up as neck pain, hip tightness, anything like that. Pay attention to those types of things, but yeah, I would say those are probably the first signs. But the problem that I've seen is a lot of people are just so used to that and they wanna blame it on old age, like, "Oh, I'm getting older, it just comes with the territory." No, not necessarily. If you're taking care of yourself and doing the things properly, there are 80 and 90-year-old people running 400. My mom just sent me a video the other day, I think he was, like, 83 or something like that. He ran a 29.7 200, which is good for that. And then there are 80 and 90-year-olds running marathons, so don't give me the excuse of you're getting older when you're 40 and 50 years old of why you have back and knee pain. No, doesn't apply.
You hit on a lot of great key points there, coach. Now, I want to ask you about how simple nutrition and intentional movement can directly impact decision making and leadership, in your opinion.
When you're eating correctly, and I always preach the 80-20 rule to all of my clients, 80% whole foods and just prioritizing the lean meats and the good carbs and the healthy fats and the vegetables. And then 20% is you indulging and enjoying what you want. The gag is you got to keep it within that 20%, which is what a lot of people mess up at. But following the 80-20 rule and prioritizing that will help you feel more energized throughout the day, making sure that you're just feeling more full, you're not feeling super stuffed, eat until you're about 80% full. I think just mental clarity overall when you're eating that way, and you also feel better about your decisions. Me personally, I hate cooking. Well, okay, let me take that back. I used to hate cooking. I'm getting better at it, I'm getting more comfortable with it. But I'm just trying new recipes, doing different things, and it definitely does help, especially when it turns out good. Like it's not nasty food. So I think that that just also leads into that self-esteem, leads into that mental clarity, leads into better digestion. So you're feeling better, you're more energized, like everything is all connected from that.
Absolutely. And again, I'm a person who doesn't really like to cook, especially cooking for a big family. I have to think about, 6 people in the house. So it's one of those things of when I cook, I have to mean it. So I totally identify on that cooking
Mhm.
aspect. So let's talk about your clients for a second. How do you help them detach their identity from constant output and reconnect to sustainable performance?
So a couple different ways. Everybody has their own personal things going on. So one thing about me, I understand the first thing is that when they come to a session, they're coming to get away from what they had going on. So we're not talking business. We're not doing any of that. We're here to pour into ourselves and escape from reality in a sense. So I understand that that's what we're doing. On the other hand, I do understand that there are certain times where it can pour over. So there are certain times where it's too much stuff going on and you can't really get your mind off of it and focus on the workout. And there's levels to that. And as a coach, you can kind of have some discernment with your clients and who needs to be pushed more and who needs to kind of take a step back. But there are times when I'll have a client literally just come in and I can tell their energy is off and we're just gonna do mobility and go home, right? I need you to rest. I'm not gonna we're not gonna benefit from me pushing you to do something else physically when you're already drained mentally, emotionally, physically. So there comes just different individualized things, and that's why my programming is so customized and so individualized because each person needs something different. Yeah, you can go follow this coaching app and they'll give you some exercise and workouts, but they're not going to be able to tell when your energy is off today. And now maybe we just need to do a little bit of conditioning and cardio and focus on mobility, focus on stretching, just kind of a little bit. Or it's not gonna be able to tell, like, I need to push a little bit harder today. I need to get some of this stuff off my chest and push a little bit harder today. It's not gonna be able to tell that. So it's very individualized. Just understanding that the gym is always more than just a workout. It's definitely figuring out what you need as an individual, adjusting accordingly.
Absolutely. And I love your work and I love your approach to it because you use that key word that we look for, especially when it comes down to anything from mental health to fitness to nutrition, and that's that word individualized. So, just creating your programs, it literally shows that you're dedicated to this work because you're literally putting in the research behind it and making it for everyone based off of literally their situation. So I want to say kudos to you on doing that.
Thank
Now, you are. Now, I'm going to ask you, coach, what are three foundational health systems every high achieving woman should have in place right now to avoid burnout?
I think that you need morning and nighttime routine. So that's gonna kind of be encompassed into one thing because the way that you go to sleep, your routine at night definitely affects how your morning starts. So having a solid morning and nighttime routine, it can be something as simple as my phone is on do not disturb at this time and I'm washing my face, brushing my teeth, and I'm in the bed by this time. Like something as simple as that. Or it can be more in depth where you have a stretch routine, you're journaling, you're doing a brain dump, any of those things. So that's going to be per person what the morning and nighttime routines look like, but you need something for sure. The other thing that I would say is specific mobility movements, because especially with the high achieving women, majority are working at a desk most of the time. You're on calls, you're taking meetings, you're doing admin stuff at your desk. Rarely or sometimes there are people that are on the move, but still you need mobility. You need to be able to move your spine in a certain way. You need to be able to move your hips in a certain way. You need to be able to move your shoulders and have good posture. So, having specific mobility things that you're doing, whether on a daily basis or before your workouts, after your workouts, anything like that, you need some type of system for that. And then I think the last thing I would be is have a specific form of self care that you enjoy. For some people, it's getting a massage. They thoroughly enjoy getting massages, and that is their routine. I enjoy going to Sweat House. Sweat House is a contrast therapy, so it's the sauna and the cold plunge. Like that is so refreshing to me, and I truly enjoy doing that. Just find some people enjoy hiking. My hairstylist loves going hiking. That is not my cup of tea, but that's what she loves. So just finding one thing that is yours. So whenever you're there, it is your space and nobody can disrupt that. You have your schedule, you go once a week, you go once a month, whatever that routine looks like. So I would say those three things for sure are going to be key for any high achieving woman, for anybody, but especially the high achieving women.
I totally agree with that, and I'm one of those people who love nature and just going out, even just sitting outside in my backyard or just sitting outside my workplace and just getting in it, like, it rejuvenates you. Coach, I wanna ask you, what do you say to the CEOs out there who believe that fitness can't fit into their routines?
You're lying to yourself. Literally, it's as simple as that. Like, I hear so many people say, "Oh, I'm too busy," or "I do this," but if you go and do your social media audit, how many hours a day are you spending on Instagram and TikTok? Even as a CEO, even as a high achieving person, there is time being wasted in your day. Or you can wake up earlier, prioritize it in the morning. You can there are ways around it. So that's never an excuse for me. There's too many different options that you can do. You can do something quick at home. You can find a gym close to you. You can walk outside. There's too many options. So that's not an excuse that I'd ever accept.
Like, as the people say, you make time for what you want to make time for. So fitness could definitely fit in any woman's busy routine. Now,
100%.
sadly, we're getting closer to today, the end of today's episode, and we only have a few more questions left. So I want to talk about chronic stress for a minute. For the women out there who maybe suffer from that, how does that affect them long term and ambitiously?
I think that that's gonna show up for people in different ways. For some people, it could be as drastic as depression, or for other people, it could just be low motivation. It's gonna depend, but with that as a whole, you're gonna hold on to more fat, so it's gonna be harder for your metabolism to work. It's gonna be harder because you're holding on. Those cortisol levels aren't doing what they're supposed to do. So I think that it's gonna take, again, like, more in depth, out of my realm, some actual therapy if you do feel like that is the level at which you are, like, you're not able to be productive and you can't sustain a job or you can't sustain a routine because you're wanting to be in the bed, you're fighting that feeling, like, definitely take the next step and go talk to a professional about it. But if it is manageable by you, systems are gonna be your answer. You need routines, you need consistent systems, and most high achieving women are that type A where everything needs to be systematic, everything has to have a place, everything needs some type of structure. But I think that that applies to any high achieving woman, anybody in business. You need systems for your business, for your personal life. You need a time that you're doing this, you need to reflect on what you're doing and why you're doing it and the actual results that you're getting from it. Tracking that stuff is going to make a huge difference. 'Cause you can just be going through the motions, but if you're actually writing down and paying attention to what you're seeing from these routines, like, for example, for the past 2 weeks, I was only getting maybe 4 hours of consistent sleep, but since I've been waking up at X time, at 6 AM, and moving my body in the morning, now I realize I'm sleeping better. Now I'm getting 5 or 6 hours of sleep. It's not perfect, but it's definitely an improvement, and you're paying attention to that, and your level of awareness is being raised about it, so that can kinda that's a personal way without taking the next step of talking to a professional and trying to dig into that chronic stress and try to figure out what that root cause is.
Absolutely. And for the women who are out there listening, what are some small strategic shifts they can implement this week to help stabilize it?
I would say increase your steps. Most people are not getting any more than maybe like 2,000, maybe 3,000 steps a day. Get up in between meetings. I have a couple things on my page just about simple movements that you can do if you have a resistance band, simple things you can do at your desk. Going for a walk, literally taking maybe 10, 15 minutes out of your day to go outside and go for a walk. That'll help you increase your steps. Staying hydrated. A lot of us aren't paying attention to how much water we're drinking, so we're just assuming that we're drinking enough. The ideal goal is about half of your body weight in ounces. So if you just aim for that or just even keep track of that so you know where you are, that could be very helpful. So I would say start with those. Just understand where you are. We don't A lot of us are just going through the motions so much that we don't know where we are. So if I were to ask you the question, how many steps a day are you averaging? You can guess. You may not be accurate, but you should know that. That's something that's an easy thing that we can know. The next easy thing to track is how much water intake you're getting. A step up from that would be your nutrition, tracking what you're eating. There are simple apps out there. There are free apps, there are paid apps, depends on how hands-on you want to be. But there are systems and free resources out here for you to just understand where you are, and then you can adjust accordingly.
Absolutely. Several great points, especially when you're in the office and need to get those steps in. As you said, after a meeting, going take a walk. Or if you have that time during lunch or during your break, go and take you a walk versus sitting there or just just move your body. Get out and move around. Now, we've talked about chronic stress. So I want to talk about survival mode right now and get your opinion on some tips. What are some of the first powerful steps that women who may be stuck in survival mode can take right now?
I think the first thing is just gonna be finding somebody you trust. Find somebody to be in your corner so you don't necessarily have to feel like you have to carry the burden all the time. And that's easier said than done, like finding somebody that you actually do trust. But there are people in your circle. You just have to allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to see if they can be that level of support to help you get out of that survival mode. And then I think that also goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning is just that badge of honor of just working hard and taking on everything and doing everything yourself, just figuring out how you can offload some things, delegate some things on your schedule. You don't necessarily have to do it all. You may want to, you may feel like you need to, but there are resources, free resources, and people in your circle that can help. And I feel like that just offloading some of that pressure and prioritizing that, again, that one thing that we talked about, that one self care thing, I think that alone can help you just take your guard down a little bit and really start to feel like you don't have to be so high strung and everything is stressful and everything has to get done right now. And I have to do this. And I'm the one that has to carry this burden. Like, just taking those steps, breathing, and just understanding that it doesn't all have to get done today, which is a hard reality. Again, I understand it's a hard reality for me too, but everything does not have to get done today. Having your systems in place and utilizing your resources, whether that's friends, family, loved ones, anything like that, just utilizing what you have in front of you.
Absolutely. Sadly, you guys, our time has come to an end, but we always leave with a legacy. And I give Coach a second to think about this. When we think back to your work years from now, how do you want to be remembered by people?
Ooh, how do I want to be remembered? Somebody that cares, but is not going to take your bullshit. How I care so much about my clients and their results, and I wanna do everything in my power to make sure that they accomplish those goals, whether that is just to move more, just to feel better, or just to feel more confident in themselves, or even at the athlete level, like getting to the next level, like whatever that is, I want you to understand that my goal is to help you accomplish that, and I will do everything in my power to make sure that you feel supported on that journey. So anything that I can do to make that happen. But yeah, just a resource. I want people to feel that they can trust me as a resource for those things and feel confident that this company, that this business is what can help you get there and we actually care about getting you there.
Absolutely. And I love that legacy. And that's what we're about on About Her Business. Sadly, our time has run out today with Coach Breezy. But before we go, we want to make sure that we get all of her information. So, Coach, let us know how we can sign up for your services. Let us know we can find you on your socials. Let us know all the details.
You can find me on all social media platforms at Breezy Fit Co. You can go to breezyfit.co/resources, and that's going to show you my booking link. That's going to show you my online community, any affiliates or other resources that I have for you on there. I invite you to join my community. It's called the Strong on Purpose community. It is an accountability source for all things fitness and wellness and health. So we meet once a week. I have free resources inside of there. I have events coming up, so I don't know when this is gonna come out, but May 3rd is Sweat and Celebrate, so that's my birthday event, but my business is all around balancing health and wellness with living the life that you actually want. So we're gonna compete, we're gonna train, and then we're gonna celebrate.
Oh, I love it. And we will be leaving all that information down in the description box below. Any last words before we adjourn today's meeting, Coach?
Just know you got it. That's the only thing. Just don't overthink it. A lot of people just get so overwhelmed with this process and we overthink everything just like we do with everything else in our lives. It doesn't have to take that much. Go outside, go for a walk, get some steps in, figure out where you are, and just know that you got it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I couldn't have said that better. And with that, today's meeting is now adjourned. Thanks again to Coach Breezy and Breezy Fit Co. for coming on and offering all her insights. And you be sure to subscribe to About Her Business wherever you receive your podcast so you never miss whenever we upload. Also, leave me some comments down in the comment section on which industry you think I should interview next. Until next time, keep your goals tight, that circle tighter, and that bank account growing.